long, since I've known her, and something I loved about it is that it changed a little bit every time I heard it. And I'll miss that aspect of this book. I think Simone once described it as a kind of site of tinkering and kind of constant improvisation. And I hope that Days will continue to kind of change and shift and have its kind of the material of the language keep changing after the book is printed, but we now have an object. The words are now printed, but I love that it began as this kind of site of tinkering. It's a book that is very hard to describe. It's like a textile. It's living. It's mutable, and it's just such a chronicle of dailiness. And I've been so inspired by it for so many years. And so I'm so thrilled that Simone trusted us with this work, and that the National Endowment for the Arts chose to support it in Belladonna. So I just wanted to say thank you, Simone. Hi, Rachel. Thank you, Rachel Levitsky, for your belief in this book as well. And everyone at Belladonna for pitching in and making this book possible. We couldn't be more thrilled, and we're just so excited. I just wanted to read some words by the poet Lynn Haginian about Days to get us started. A foray, a meander, a meditation on time and things and the making and makings of days. Such are rough terms that one could use to describe Simone Carney's Days, a debut volume rich with cultural detail, all strung on threads of rigorous thought. Carney sets forth not to mark time, days, but to follow words on the move, words liberated from any expectation to what they might attract or what they might generate. My own experience as I read through the book's sequence of 108 interlinking 7-line poems was one of delighted, intense, and full-out engagement, an experience I've repeated 3 times and will repeat again. Carney's Days are superbly expansive, proof that time isn't ticks of a clock, but place in the field, more field. And I just love what Haginian wrote, and it also made me think about, we've been kind of inside of our days in a very different way because of the pandemic, and I think this book that it's coming out now feels very appropriate. This kind of tracking of daily experience that happens so beautifully and experimentally in this text. So I want to thank all of our readers and performers for tonight. Thank you for circling this book with love. I'm so excited to hear your work and to hear you read from this book if you're doing that. So without further ado, we're going to get started. Tonight we have readings by Fanny Howe, Timothy Donnelly, Asio Wadud, Molly Zuckerman, Hartung, and then we will have some music by Jacob Bills and a video by Karen Denobrega. So I'm very excited for all of that. And first, we will hear a reading from Fanny Howe. Are you there, Fanny? Great. And I'm here.
Thank you very much. And honestly, to me, what you were saying about listening to these poems for a while, I've been living with Belladonna for many, many, many years. And it's just wonderful that you're still here. When I think of nights in the East Village underground, really, thank you. And I just want to say that I feel that the Simone's voice is like nature speaking. It's sort of underground in a new way that we think about existing at all. And it's a very unguarded kind of space, but it's what we are going to have to learn how to live in joyfully, the way she does in her poems. So I'm going to read the 2 almost last poems of hers from Days. Psychic states are oil in water, yanked seedling inside jar, we found, with no water, but triangles, sorts of them, lost, teensy flake of water. Want a bun? This is me. This is my life. Taste toothpaste. What is the equivalent of feeling? Miniature hairs that formerly stood on and begin to slacken. This is the arms, healthy unity of flesh in a car. What singular things congeal in heaps? Sense beyond speech, or speech beyond sense. Cell opens, flowers leak all over the place, and there is no metaphor, is there? Just secretion, secretions of accents, a mountain plucked from your mouth like a scent. What almost is a history without hands, but hands are there. This water is not clear. What part of you pours out? Another type of gray. This is what we commerce in, the idea of day and churning the milk of speech on the platform. Weight clings to me where glass life moves. No one's eyes tell you the sheer physicality of what it entails. The fear of the body to sew together disorder inside a cup of water, not supposed to be there. And clearly impossible to sew, roots into a thigh, say, steeping. Fragments are, I know, all of us strung along. I would speak as each object in my dream for hours, sun, I. And then I'll just read one of a poem I wrote many years ago, just to follow through with something there. It's called the Apophatic Path, and that the apophatic means the negative way to truth. What isn't what is, not discover me or try to find me. If being is finding, can you find me? Who to this address? Being as close to a shadow as a color. What isn't is what is. And I can see but know, as no, non amari sed amare. Or will a question be, is the discovery for real me? Signature a stone? Like what isn't is what is, when not being ever found. Basic science will blend ghostness among enemies. Now bodies cemented down in monster denominations to be counted, one of the walking corpses I see, whitening and emptying under a sun, makes me know me to be no one. Walk to developmental old trombone, I, seeking to be found inside time by one whose blues seek by speaking tunes to this specific city afternoon of bread, fumes, and orange nasturtiums. Am still solo, even the base of me being no one. So there we
You can unmute to clap. I like real applause. Thank you so much for that reading, Fanny. I just want to mention that Fanny has a book coming out called Manimal Woe, published by Aerosmith Press in Boston. Is that a new book that's coming out? Wonderful. I can't wait for it. Thank you so much, Fanny, for your support of this book and your support of Simone. Is Kieran here?
Yeah. Hi. How are you?
Hi.
Hi. Sorry I'm late. I'm going to share my screen.
Great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just introduce you, Kieran. Kieran de Nobrega is an artist who casts light on objects. He lives and works in Brooklyn.
That's right. Nothing left. Okay.
No, go down, share screen. Yes, allow.
Kieran, are you able to share your screen? Because I think I took out.
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of difficulty. Give me
Okay.
5 minutes. Sorry about
Okay. So why don't we have Timothy go next?
Yeah, sounds good.
Timothy, is that okay? Okay, great. Timothy Donnelly's most recent book is The Problem of the Many, winner of the inaugural Big Other Poetry Prize. He's also the author of 27 props for a production of Ein Lebenszeit and The Cloud Corporation, winner of the 2012 Kingsley Tufts Poetry Award. A Guggenheim Fellow, he teaches in the writing program of Columbia University School of the Arts and lives in Brooklyn with his family. Please welcome Timothy Donnelly.
Hi, Simone. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, congratulations on this beautiful book, and congratulations to Belladonna for being able to publish it. I too have been living with these poems for some time. I think I published some in Boston Review way back in 2012. Yeah. And I thought I would read a couple of my own poems, and then I'm going to close with 4 pages from the book, as I warned Simone I would. Simone appears to be Irish, so I thought I would read a poem that taps into that particular country's history. It's called The Bard of Arma, and I took that title from a famous ballad, and I also took that ballad's end rhymes in writing this. The Ballad of Arma, or The Bard of Arma, was written by a bishop named Patrick Donnelly, so I felt a particular connection to this, and I thought she might get a kick out of the poem. The Bard of Arma. I have reached for the ease of the drunk. I've reached for the ease of the drink-steadied harper who lives the tune so thoroughly his fast pink hands dance over the strings like some sharp thing made sharper when it's put to use. A family of thing I can't seem to land on any member of at present, but its heraldic emblem behind me as I charm would be the gold cat's paw, chopping cabbage for the supper I'm forever assembling in a blur of green to set before the Bard of Arma. How I love to drift off the way I did through boyhood into the days of my birthright as a person, even if back then inwardness felt like thieving liverwurst sandwiches one should leave on the platter for the hard-working women, the men who need all the more to be propped on the shillelagh of animal protein. I myself am satisfied, reclining on the straw I share a name with all afternoon, festooned in the Boyne Valley of self-tillage, grazing millennia with the Bard of Arma. Sun hums me awake again. Life is over, half over, spent in service as ever to those with much more than me. One can show a resentment or one can choose to cover it over with graciousness. Neither way will set you free, but one will keep you safer put. Death won't embrace me frowning, or it might, but I heard a tune today and felt an awe only we in arrears can, a beauty as if meant to save me in the currach of its moment, rode by the Bard of Arma. And this next poem I'm reading, I'm gonna read because I believe Simone and I share an appreciation for nuggets of language that tremble like sentient blancmange. I was thinking about it that way today, sentient blancmange. And I wrote this poem from within a volume of sentient blancmange. And so I'm happy to be able to read it for you tonight, Simone. I shared a little snippet of it with you earlier this week. It's called Offspring of Circumstance. What sullies me now with my own blue dirt, as I sometimes have done to a half-peeled potato, rubbing the smooth, bare forefront of the tuber with the residue of its birthplace all over? What curdles the scented ovum of repose and feeds me voltage till I vibrate wide with music? Buttercups sprung from a dung heap in Armenia know what I refer to, and I tip my hat easterly. Wheat-tinted thoughts predominate days, and shadows pummel me deep into bedtimes. Listen for the tingle of it. I don't care for small talk, having met the devil, but I do nod along at the workplace like a person. Yellow vinyl floor tile migraine, and I bid my sneakers walk someplace I suppose the mangoes of answer pendulate from trees along the footpath as stars? What blank licks its paws? What symphony? What drug? What rumbling below decks? In what cold codex am I charting a course off the fringe of what carpet? Am I pardoning everything for being what it is, for spitting me into this plainness of space from the grace of its ship, wrapped tightly in foil? Gold like the sun sails of intergalactic travel, or like the face mask a king doffs, only in what afterlife? And here comes Simone poems, passages, pages. Here's a kind of crust of feeling you are leaning on, strong and bewildered. There are people at the back of the bar, capes on stools, what translates to sounds they make, like some kind of pared down description of a feeling that you are describing to yourself out loud underwater. Feel, it is weak. It is a stern that keeps melting, keeps being measured, tucked into itself by the size of a sea. Sea comb this feeling, comb it into a sea. Sea is ripe, sea is chicken colored. You are deeply frustrated by this. You had wanted so much to be free. You had wanted so much to be clear. You had wanted so much to become mutual with the room, or that sort of thing, with no taste, with a small single tooth to bite into anything. Well, my feeling is that this thing that pivots on the string, connecting the shaved atmosphere of waking and the sentiment, loosely, I try to road something into what you are saying, what seems to rise into my head. Or is it rinse it? It is raining. Is it raining where you are? Sweet or sweat around my eyes, highlighting my wrinkles. What the fuck is wrong with me? I mustn't forget to buy that cream on sale. On the decks of your eyes, tension between that which is blotted out and that which is highlighted. Only more wasps flew in, or the ghost of the wasp multiplying itself with a vengeance. I closed the window, could make a stew tonight. The exercise is worth my while as long as it's useful. Tiptoe of water, and I lie in water. And beside, imagine you're dragging a boar into a drawing, patting its tail down in the page, forgetting to include the snout, shimmies out. Nausea can be a kind of hunger. Can I fill nausea? All birds. I keep my phone close, like an eel out of water. Faucet faces yank us from stark sheets, atonal, red-nosed underfolds, opposite the pore, yanked by bushy on the way to the bathroom. No more adjectives of objects blood-pecked and trickle of a water's hair, pomade-pressed braid, of a windpipe, dragged up organic liquid. Cannot slice a wave that rolls off mulberry thought, tapping to the beat of my twin eyes, stolen to make holes in the night of disco. I have to sit down in the grass, softly, to contradict me. I could place this snickerdoodle, golden doodle, cockapoo, cockatoo, cuddly but needy, I against my own. Soul is a big tent, physical breath that skips, what a curb is, while the disease of all my wanderings, tastes clipped, entropy is here on the sidewalk, lisp, foam, slug.
Thank you so much, Tim, for that reading. I love those poems propped on the shillelagh of animal protein. My own blue dirt. Those are amazing. And I loved hearing Days in your voice. Thank you also so much for publishing those poems in Boston Review, because whenever I wanted to teach them, it was my only way of getting them for many years. So thank you so much. So wonderful. Kieran, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. I figured it out. So
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kieran Denobriga is an artist who casts light on objects. He lives and works in Brooklyn.
All right.
I don't know. To be honest, you should maybe just say it's not work. I don't.
We can come back and have another reader. Yeah, I have allowed screen sharing, so that's not the issue. But maybe I'll make you a co-host. That's a great idea. Hold on. Meeting. James, can you make Kieran, who's on here, as Gabriella? I think. Can you make Gabriella/Kieran a co-host?
Hi, yeah, I'm Gabriella and I'm with Karen. We're figuring it out. It's not, for some reason, it's not allowing us to share the screen without quitting Zoom.
Okay. So why don't you can quit and come back?
Okay.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay. And then we'll have the next reader read.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, so next, Asya, are you here? Great. Okay, great. I'm so excited that Asya is reading tonight. Asya Wadid is a writer, most recently of No Knowledge is Complete Until It Passes Through My Body, which was just published pretty recently by Nightboat Books. Recent work appears in Eflux Journal, Social Text Journal, and Bomb Magazine. She teaches poetry at St. Anne's School, Columbia University, and at Pacific Northwest College of Art. Please welcome Asya Wadid.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Emily. Hi, everyone. Hi, Simone. Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you tonight. So I think I'm going to start by reading some pages from Days, and then I'm going to go to some poems from my new book that remind me of Days. I'll read it that way. Okay. Stone egg, when day moves, raw as lard, cashew milk, the sound of portraits, noise before one can talk. Sleep was lost in a room, little airplane spotted over internet, making no progress. Certain fingers in the margin, procedures where you can't linger, oof or woof. Only leaves, grounds, but not phones filled with transactions, approaching a reflection out of doors. I could sail to a life of imitations that never occurred, a kind of burbling, fuchsia, agate jelly, animal in the open, kind of calf, scrappy hairdo, funky houses bubbling up like mushrooms, then torn down, vulnerable fungi gill, that window. And then you want to FaceTime, pour your life into one on screen. You are in a room too large to hide everyone's vocabulary sizzling away. Something shredding when we talk, rounding river, mull kind of thing, standstills of mouths. Another wrong impression, pushing, white bleeding squeezed into tusk clean apertures, then compulsions as the need to violently fade, go poof, masquerade, invisibly like space or power, or a mask of air punctures, as the gossamer would, but then there's also the need to puff, to spill out onto surfaces, smear volumetric spheres of one's body, ladle out onto lawns, over an armchair, onto the ottoman, over the TV, through the carpets, onto someone else's presence, onto the cup of their beautiful hand, their care, their little rivulet of their need, the dent they need filling, somewhere in the background of sentiment narrowed to irrelevance, she said, in other people's gardens. Worn, sky, a tad overcast, cloud, glue, one to another, after as before, progeny of lisps, joint prosody to make rubber odes, something is being blown out. You're doing the trope thing again, you're following a line, red herring, tape footsteps, something being diminished, traps you can hear, something thrust onto its own stillness, something about remaining alert, something about not standing on the yellow line, something self-capitalizing, something residual on top, standing on the yellow line, something self-capitalizing, something residual on the top, something sagging in water holes, shuddering on a broken fluorescent corner, pillaging veins in an open field, dumb in leather, resurfacing, pouring a tunnel. But if flowering were there, what's clipped, nounless, coagulating light, stalking a series of unspecified dead ends, pressed into nubs of atmosphere, touch someone else's inhalation. I'm sitting on a feeling as if sitting on a chandelier, iffy, hunger is sticky. I touch you like an object that disappears into the sound of tearing. Okay. Thanks. Okay, and then I think I'm going to read two poems. Well, let's see. I'm going to read this poem called L. And it's just called L. You'll see why it's called L. L. Long live our loyalty, how it loops, falls, lumbers, lulls, and lists, finally resisting its own limpness. Long live anything that has long wished to live, the lasso, the lake, the limit, the left lane, the spices spinning on their lazy Susan, the lavender field at peak bloom, illustrious and oven hot, land and the outliers, land and the legion of the Outer Banks, land and the landed, latitude, and that was my limit until I looked left. What length we expect to cover in these longitudinal years. Early loops sliced lengthwise to see their insides. The latent exercise of the loom, left to right, layered weft and warp, listening to its language, leached all across the living room. An antecedent to loyalty is drift or look away from the limit. Let me look at the warped shapes inside the lava, angry loaves lifting the mouth of the mountain, then lifting clear off the mountain. Leavened loaves at the limit of their leavening. Left loaves, rock hard obsidian thoughts make. My yearling, even luxury has its limits, having lived or existed all year long. Love is a lifetime of long live our loyalty, how it loops, falls, lumbers, lulls, and lists, finally resisting its own limpness. A lifeline or ulna, all my limber bones held in my left hand. I have placed the bones on a bay laurel wreath, placed the wreath inside a barrel, lined up the barrel alongside other barrels laden with laurels and ulnas. What to say of lavishing honor? What to say of laconic, I once tried? What of leisure or lassitude? Lateral pines loosen at the ends of their branches, languishing before they fall, loop through the extra air. I am alone in the lake region, algae bloom at my ankles, loaves lifting the mountain to make fresh archipelagos. And I think, thank you, thanks. I think I'll read just the start of one more because it's, well, first of all, it's a long poem and it's a little too long for tonight. But second of all, it just, I mean, it keeps, once you hear part of it, it keeps looping. So maybe you'll find it on your own some other time. I'm going to read just the beginning of it. Chapter 2, verses 1 to 30 for Dion Brand. All his 5 fingers were the mirror weight of the bluebird which I cupped, it with its broken leg, us at the end. The nail beds and undernails, yellowed and matte. What matters is how he held the fruit. He placed for me in a bag the fruit of the market, which mattered because now the blue bag held the weight, the levied load. The bluebird limped, its blue wings an undercurrent, fluttering, then stillness, blue in its movement, blue quiet articulation. I learned that if you are gentle with a bluebird, a sparrow, a dove, they will gently double back. I removed my sweatshirt, a guardian enveloping her nest. I put the bird where it belonged. I cupped the bird in my shirt and we drove on. I slowed my breathing. The bird nested against my chest. I asked after the smallest fruit at the market. The man told me, peel back the flesh. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asia, for reading. Those are incredible poems. And it's nice to hear the beginning of a long poem celebrating a long poem. I love that L poem so much. Makes me want to write an M poem. So thank you. Kieran, how you doing?
I think I'm doing
Great.
well. Yeah. I'm going to share that screen again.
Yay.
Yeah, for bearing with technical issues I've been having.
It was so worth it. Those are incredible objects, and I loved that piece so much. It made me feel like there would be no better fate than to be a object lovingly and purposefully placed by an artist in relationship to other objects. Is incredible and very days appropriate somehow. It really feels connected to the book. Thank you so much, Karen. Next, we have Molly Zuckerman Hartung. She's a painter, writer, and teacher who grew up in Olympia, Washington, and participated in Riot Girl in her formative years. She is shown at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, the Walker Center in Minneapolis, the 2014 Whitney Biennial, the program at Remap in Athens, Greece, Cadel Wilborn in Karlsruhe, Germany, and many others. She will have a mid-career retrospective at the Blaffer in Houston this fall. She is represented by Corbett versus Dempsey in Chicago and Rachel Uffner Gallery in New York City. Please welcome Molly.
Thank you, Emily. I should have given you a shorter bio. It's such a kind of crazy honor to be here, and I'm like jostling around in this campsite. But yeah, I'm kind of like overwhelmed with gratitude for being a part of Simone's world. I'm going to start by reading just a few of a text that I wrote back in, gosh, it might be 2011. So it's very, very old, called the 95 Theses on Painting, because I feel that I am here to represent painting, because Simone is sort of improbably, I think, just as amazing of a painter as she is a poet. And I'm glad that Kieran is also here as the materialists. So the 95 Theses on Painting are numbered, but, and then I'm going to read just 2 pages, two poems from Days. Where should I was going to start with The Dream of Abstract Painting, number 73. The dream of abstract painting in the 20th century was a dream of whole people whose senses weren't fragmented, whose vision was complete, who made paintings with their hearts and minds and bodies in harmony. 74, this dream is still a dream and yet not yet a reality and ever receding. 75, this dream is foolish and necessary, and the wholeness of its vision is what makes it foolish, and the wholeness of its vision is what makes it necessary. 76, keeping a foolish dream alive makes one a fool. 77, society has always needed fools. The fool is both self-electing and made from without by the society. 78, the fool bears the shame of society's fears. The fool is a scapegoat. 79, the painter today is a fool. 80, the painter today becomes familiar with shame, the hot flush of shame, the constriction of muscles, the desperate need to hide. The painter accepts these feelings and holds them and smiles warmly. 81, the painter gives a gift that is unwanted and even hated. 82, the gift the painter gives is the very human meaning of engaging in a useless and unjustifiable activity. 83, it is simply this: there is no justification for what we do. 84, I'll say it again, we do nothing useful to justify our existence, and yet I believe we deserve to exist. All life deserves this unjustified blessing. 85, painting is an utterly useless activity. 86, and yet painting gives my life meaning. 87, painting is the language of form and space that reminds me that I am made of the same stuff as the world. 88, I am hard and soft, gentle and dense and dispersed, bright and sharp, contrasting and undulating, acidic and toxic and soothing, as is the world. 89, I paint to step away from myself and realize that I am one with myself. 90, I paint to step away from the world and realize that I am one with the world. 91, I paint to forget everything I know. 92, I paint to remember again everything I dismembered and to become a member of something new, which was there all along. 93, I choose each time as though for the first time to think and teach and write and love as a painter. 94, the movement through the 95 Theses is an agonistic, difficult process I go through again and again, mostly forgetting that there is relief and containment at the end. 95, painters make better lovers. And then acidic and toxic and soothing. Very flat-footed in a group of wordsmiths. All right, 2 poems from Days. Let's face it, never seen as it actually is. Ideas are objects, dress them up or dress in them. Layer, watery, osmosis of assignations. Word is clothing too. Artifice, mask, fabric, surface, as in this sea. Hem supplants the face. I feel all hem today or yesterday. First, it should be known that this shirt is dense with seams, but may be cleansed. I've always found hygiene suspect. Language can be a cleaning utensil, a surgical one. Scalpel of language is sometimes useful in times of oscillation. Clean cut of description. Remove the fray from fact. Go rhymes with, then it's mess. Say something clearly, cleanly. Some light has been shed on my emaciation, for instance. I now understand that the blockage of my ability to be is an inability to take in, intake, imbibe, absorb. I push out with my weak eyes. Nothing but air pushes into me. I'm externalizing myself, handing myself out like a canteen given to no one, but to promote instead the opposite of intact borders. You must have a contour to function. Why fucking could be threatening and risks abstracting you. Why it is also alluring to vegetate ecstatically, almost outside of yourself. The effect of heat is the same. How it erases borders. Cold does the opposite. Compresses you inward. In the heat, though you expand all your horizons into more horizons, and suddenly you are the edge of a chair or a piece of food on that counter. But on the other hand, cold numbs you until you are neither outside nor inside too, or a release from the things of yourself. Here in front of the sea, let your ear be pudgy with sea, pudgy of sea, with, out, as an exhale. Where are you? Slowly. And what on the other side is not, in any case, it was no longer my house, peanuts on cream. Air curls into a tiny fold. It's me talking now. Cloud, smearing windows, unpruned, pruning, still clouded by other inside. I just want to say that Simone has like maybe one of the biggest, craziest appetites of almost anybody I've ever met. And I'm in total awe, and it's just such an honor to be here. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Molly. I loved what you read, and I loved hearing Days out of your mouth. One of the things I love about Days, I just wanted to say, and I can't stop talking about it to people. There's a notes in the back of the book to references, and it's my favorite note section of any book. And it says something like, here's a list of references. Some of them I've forgotten, and so they're not here. And I thought that was like the most wonderful and brave way to do a note section, because of course that's how all book note sections are. But I love that Simone just says it, and it was just such a pleasure to encounter that in the process. So now we're going to have some music by Jacob Bills. Are you ready, Jacob?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I'm just going to read a little bio for you, because like I said before, I
skip
love listing people's accomplishments and talking about their art. Jacob Bills is a multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, composer, and producer who has been an active performer and organizer across New York City's music landscape and abroad for 20 years. His artistic practice flows between sound, written word, and experiments with physical material. His past musical works and projects include groups Asa Ransom, O Paradiso, Death of Fashion, and performance collective Polyphony, as well as compositions for dancer Corey Kresge, filmmaker Sally Tran, and artists Cara Hamilton, Simone Carney, Stephen Thompson, and Charles Labe Bitten. Please welcome Jacob.
Thank you so much. Molly, I'm with you. I would have sent a much shorter bio had I known it was going to torture all of you. Before I play something, I just wanted to read a very short excerpt, but I've just been so moved by this book, Days, which I have here, and I'm so thankful that Simone brought this into existence for all of us to be able to share. And this is kind of the line that I've been sending to friends to convince them to read the book. I'm amazed at how there are these moments you kind of are almost in a trance in the fragments of the book, but then depending on the reader, I'm sure it's so different, but there are these kind of arrivals into these incredibly articulated, longer structures, and this is one of them. So many promotions bloating the whole head of you, and night trying to gather a solid, aloof verb, almost complete, Twinkie shimmer to form a phrase, cylindrical and scooped. You use your exquisitely controlled mouth like a scar on fruit, bone maman plum dropping dark red on toast. Such discovery is perceptible, distance thrown on you like warm cloth. And the song I'm going to play, the day Simone messaged me about doing this, there was a Kate Bush song rattling in my head. It's called The Song of Solomon. So I thought this might be just a good opportunity to do something with it.
For
Thanks. Can't wait to hear Simone read.
Oh, there should be Kate Bush and you at all poetry readings. Thank you
Then I'll
so
see
much,
you next
Jacob.
time.
That's amazing. So there's only one rule this evening that I'm going to insist upon, and it's that right now, unless you have a sleeping infant nearby or like can't or you're unable, that you unmute and hoot and holler for Simone and for Dave. So everyone unmute your mic and make some yelp.
Hey!
Yay!
Kissy faces. We love you, Simone. We're so excited. And I guess I have a bio for you too. So I'll read it. Simone Carney is a writer and artist living in New York. She's the author of the chapbooks My Ida, which is fan-fucking-tastic chapbook from Ugly Duckling Press, 2017, and In Three, also amazing from Minutes Books, 2013. Her poems have appeared in the Brooklyn Rail, Lit Hub, Boston Review, St. Anne's Review, Riot of Perfume, Pen Poetry Series, and elsewhere. She teaches at the New School. Please welcome Simone and welcome Days.
Thank you so much, Emily, and oh God, thank you everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here and hear all of you read and see all of your work. I feel really lucky and grateful, and thank you again to Emily and Belladonna and Rachel and everyone at Belladonna, James and Aaron. Everyone who helped me on the book, and it's so meaningful, not just to publish with Belladonna, but also to work with Emily and Rachel, who I've known now and admired and loved as friends and as great poets for probably 10 years or more. So it's really special. And yeah, thank you to Fanny, who I've long admired, and Molly, who is also so special to me, deep admiration, great friend, and Jacob, who I've known for a really long time, the same, and Kieran and Tim, who has been an incredible support and inspiration for me for so long. It's really just means a lot to me to celebrate tonight and to see so many good friends in the Zoom audience. And Asia, of course, like I'm in such admiration of Asia's work, and I look to Asia's work over and over again at the moment, just so inspired. So thank you, Asia, too. So what I'm going to do is, and I hope I'm not leaving anyone very important out to thank, but I instead of reading from the book, I thought that I would play this video that I made, which is a section from the book set to some images that I put together. And so I'm going to play that. It runs about 15 minutes, and I put it together for a show that Jacqueline Cedar curated about maybe a few weeks ago now, Margaritaville, who runs Good Naked, who I'm working with at the moment. I'm really grateful to be doing that. So, so let me play that.
Partition is dots, image gone loose. Drink, body. If only I were a red sun, lifted up as pieces of furniture, pièces détachées. It is the story you told about. Extreme point in a face lingers in air like an ant on a beer's rim, luminous on the eye. Seeing, knowing, feeling, the operation through which something contracts like a parachute dying to escape. Crouched mouth, creasing its secret, garland and trough, manual space. I'm cushioned by what I see. Perception's a horn, friction against steam, motionless foreground. All these aspects, of course, coexist in reality. I no longer think in any other way, specifically optical. Self is fork through mousse, coagulated porch, about to flare, inedible. Cognition parts like tributaries of fat, no longer ascending like a life. I could go on in a rut, knight's chair, or covert, stumped and risen again. It is normal then, all this doing only to undo or undoing to do, foul, human, or useless stone, subject in mangled sentence, like a ditch with no sides. Arouse sound in what you feel like saying. Now what you said has a dumpling shape, overcast, mishmash of meaning that could have been a figure split by this subway glint, or I was there, I wanted to answer and did, taut and clammy on the platform. Everyone stood like a tree. Your head can be a funnel, exchanged for strange nubile water, water of a life. Give your head smelling of cheesecloth to another, strained thoughts. Don't let them touch you on your way out. I is a hot ditch, fondue of seeing where matter starts to melt, to become delectable. As for other signs, all the ideas shrivel like violets in a hospital, mood slender as background or curled up shrimp, almost a text, a little more than one, an exegesis of glass. His face was a pumice stone, shadows nested inside each pore, little warm wells, but then got released again and tumbled out. Hump full of space like water sloshing around. And you love as you would bunched psychological space that nevertheless has the aura of physical scent. What fits into the angle of each feature, full of cause and effect, leaves behind a feeling of having felt. That's her left hand. It simplifies in the light of day, disrupted as collage, reattaching like a doodad to the body, social body, immune, still, writing as a method, good or bad. Towel of selves mopping up all the skin of life, skin of others, skin of voices, skin of heartbeats, sweat, come, skin of all the music toweling itself. What shows us otherwise? Spheres of voices, all the spheres of beings, fragile, agile, opaque, so full, come near, come with me, here you are, there. Here is all this rich dirt in which things grow, all the moisture of flowers, all the flowers flooding the atmosphere with red, blue, and yellow. Oily in air. Yes, she dreams of entering germs like history and making agriculture out of it. No logical position can account for the semantics of a body. Its bones are tiny prisms, chunky light, imitations of knots that keep undoing. They contain too much of what is more than their size. sudden understanding of words turned inside out. Badly done where flesh is indicated as question, strictly speaking. Why can't you move more fluidly? Why can't you be moved fluidly, my poor vehicle? Sponges up ideas of herself, one by one, isolated as the wing of a pigeon, fetishizing her own exclusion. When thinking starts to float up like parts of a face into other people she wishes she were, forefinger and thumb. They are nubs of animal fat melting into thumbprints. They could have been bullets. This is identity. Every person could be an instrument, sometimes eroding the idea of a vowel that keeps stretching outwards into a plank. But at its end is something more shallow, a straw. You imagine you are squeezed into the tiniest hole of who you think another person is. Then the hole expands. Here I am. You are seen by another as through the light of a porthole, voice, gesture, and scent bowled together. Voice bowl bounces, and this is how communication happens. This bowl melts over to the other side, person, place, or thing. Say it. Enigma of world, like a heating pad you perch on. Soft testimony gets softer, just to be around. Enigmas pant. Enigma of tongue, of hard body or soft balloon skin. Question of how to arrange anything after trauma. Words always require that they be arranged like objects on a windowsill, otherwise meanings can't arise. Tell your story 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, already damaged by time. Time just in an everyday sense, in a mundane way. You feel that if you uttered a word, it would slowly crumble inside you in turn, like the doppelganger of the same word you uttered. It's falling to pieces there, a kind of decay of word inside you, lodged, broken apart like spumes wilt. Everything that was both simple and double at the same time. What you said, it is there in your memory, like goo on the portion of an action you want to perform. Finger your voice. Anna said she would explain something to me. She's gone to get milk. Vernacular scars. Exit. Abstract spittle. Gauze of speech covers you as warming milk forms a skin. How objection works. You read about. Voice a thing in your mouth. Not knowing where to attach, who to attach to. That voice smells of rejection. You want to touch it as if it were a parent, paddling you towards a destination that's not a destination meant for you. You were supposed to go the other way, but you are abominably passive. I found this in an email Charlie had written years ago. An idea can have no corners. It can resemble a propeller in a meadow. No one knows how it got there. But you are sitting in your chair only imagining things. An image erupts to compensate. And with talking, despite it all, the apparatus of them, what you can't understand or write down is lumpen blankets. This is too dramatic to dramatize incommunicability. How then could anyone communicate anything, and yet they do? Look at this report. Where would we be without it? At least it's a stab at justice. Fails often, but other times it's real vindication that can alter the visible, so structures start to wobble and sometimes reshape, undone completely, built up again in a different direction. Ghost blobs. Pass the meringue. This can be the beginning of something, rupturing. Gloss over books in the therapist's room. I count them one by one to avoid my fate or my lack of fate. Either option is to be avoided. Rona looks far away as if in rain. She's amazing. You look at her as through corrugated glass. See yourself through that textured glass of her eyes, as if your own voice or desire or rage were some large opaque blip undone completely. Sometimes, suddenly it's not her and her coarse transparency. Or yes, she's glassy, but more opaque than you think. Or in fact, she's not like glass at all. She's mirroring your words back to you, turning them into glass for you. The process is uncomfortable. Focus is purchased, greedy, sponging up the gaze. You both watch. That's a rosy rhombus of enormous rosy glass exiting my mouth. Not unlike wool prisms, facets too dense or thin to scatter. Each facet winds around your tongue like a spool. You feel rich, spin a yarn, go for it, story of your life, plumb line. Words drop from your tongue like exquisite eggs. You are the hen, my love, you are the hen. Lay your words down, friends, and my love, what moves across, space you reside in, a single dew, thinking to yourself, what pressure of filament that moves across your face to mine. All the books of us, all the labor and density, the trespassing, the receding, the denial, the giving, the telling, the sharing, like this root of feather, not being able to tell the difference between the true and the false, where the body is, for the feather to come from, for words to come from where and how, to be shared or known. Stones, pseudonyms, at the stand, eating ice cream. It's vegan, you wouldn't know it. You brought me there. We winced. It rains. What is this tendency? Putrefaction of the mind, tits perky in t-shirts, others soft smoke. You would love a red coat, blue jeans. I am trying to fit into your face, gutters of water, pump, seahorse, steam stiffened into stalactite like diphthongs rolling down amygdalas, closed, open. I am a book. Something sounds like something else. Giggle in the hedge instead. Trail of weather pops out. I am on the inside of a bird jacket. Embedded bird, a symbol for potential, duck. I am dreaming of subjects that have lost their magnetism. 2 days and a half ago I left. Bumping up against what's visual is numb, lycra jumpsuit. Dwell in your bed and wait for your birth. I pierce it, pictures burst, then more pictures, holes of mementos, souvenirs, with a wiggly moustache above the hole, almost on fire, slick as otters' tails, pushed into the backs of sentences. Banshee, imported tale. She placed her tongue where no center occurs. She liked them because they were beautiful. They were who she could call beautiful in a deep sense. And their voices were beautiful, and their hands held her like she was a living cylinder, and their voices met like brief retina catching light in nets. An exchange of information. Thigh gap size. All the ocean of meeting. A corner entry. Porridge of silence. Splotches of gorged mauve. She told one of the strangers who was not looking at her, consciousness is disheveled verb or residue, badly slurped oyster, mine and yours, out the window, on the train, in the street, in the gutter, in the trash can, in the house, in the cranny, under the bridge, sprawled like a fume on a finish line, or woven into one endlessly dense reel. Blankets of appearance, secrets on arms, playground with dirt. Plastic grass was planted around it. Now it's out the window, something sludgy, repaved into the form of healed scars, a kind of halfway house of recognition. Or I jump over that train of thought and see a container with a tissue covering it. When I remove the tissue, I look into the container. There's a feeding tube which is attached to a non-vascular, flat scale-like cell, like single crystal silicon, but made of something more like spirit, clearly a significant base material from which other discrete components emerge, how they are free of boundaries meant to disperse thought, like conductors, lapel of atmosphere. Squeeze.
We like clap.
Ooh, there's an echo. Simone, that was incredible.
Thank you thank you. Thank you all for watching and listening.
Move over Chris Marker. That's so amazing. I want to watch that all the time. And I agree with Rachel, who put in the chat that it is an ars poetica of your image and your text work. Incredible.
Well, thank you everyone again. And so wonderful to see you. So nice to see faces who I haven't seen in a while. Sam. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming. Matt Bay and Ona. So nice to see everyone.
Thank you everyone for being here and supporting this book, and just again, this is the month to get this book because you'll get this amazing, very long interview with Garrett Ernest and Simone talking about all sorts of things related to the book and visual practice and its intersections with poetry. So
how can we get the interview if we already have the book?
Well, then you know that we'll also be able to just buy it on our website. But it's a freebie this month, so please do check it out. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming and supporting this really permission granting and incredible work. So thank you. Have a great night.
Woo, incredible, Simone.
Thank you.
Woohoo!
Wow.
Woohoo!
Aww.
Woo!
Simone, I wish we were all together.
No, I know.
We might